Hey everyone, welcome to the 8th show on the Ignite Donuts podcast. Chris and I will be talking about selling online and the e-commerce platform as we see it right now. Chris, so let's talk about our website slightly. You want to talk about the history and the growth of our website and where we've come from?
Yeah, so when I joined Ignite Donuts, the website barely existed. If you went on Google and searched Ignite Donuts, the website linked you to the Facebook page, which really isn't a website. And the only website we had was something one of the previous owners did as like a school project that really wasn't usable. So that was one of my tasks, was create a usable website quickly. That was my task. And so there were a few key things we looked at. Was like, hey, it needs to look pretty good and we need to sell things on it. That was our two kind of criteria. So there's tons of, let me start off by saying there's tons of website makers out there, tons of e-shops makers on there. You have Squarespace, you have Weebly, you have Wix, you have GoDaddy. There's so many options to choose from. So I narrowed it down to Weebly, made the website with Weebly, and then Weebly actually integrates directly with Square, which is our point of sale system. So we could actually sell Ignite merchandise online through our website. So, and that's kind of where it still is today. Actually, we're in the process of making a new website, but it served us for about a year now, I think. So, yeah, it's kind of the history of our website. So we use Weebly and it's connected to Square. So.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Chris. I think what's important for our viewers too is to share why selling online is important, especially nowadays. Things like Amazon, businesses like Amazon, that's their main mode of transportation is e-commerce. And so just like what we are trying to do, other businesses in small towns should also adapt, because if you don't have an online platform, you're going to be left in the dust. I mean, in a way, it's the new word of mouth is online.
Yeah.
And word of mouth is the best marketing tool out there. You know, you share a marketing promotion or business or brand, and the word gets out there if you tell someone directly in person. Same thing goes and applies with selling online. We have a different life, individually speaking, when we're on our phones and when we are on the online world. So sharing things is actually much easier to do. Instead of trying to talk to 1,000 individuals, we can click a couple buttons and then 1,000 individuals can see that.
Right.
And so now I think what's important with it is that it's a part of our business now as well. It's like we started a donut business and all we thought about was getting the product to the consumer. In our mind, our first assumption was we had to make it and then sell it. In our mind, we thought we just had to give it to people, but by like trying to sell it, whether it's at a store or on the street somewhere. But Chris, do you want to talk about the specific aspects of what makes selling online different than selling at like a brick and mortar store?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few advantages. I think the biggest difference and advantage to selling online is the reach. I mean, you're selling online, you can sell and ship to anybody. And I think that's something we learned. I mean, we had a lot of products. Mainly what we sold at the beginning, at least, and I think our biggest seller to this date is a simple Ignite Donuts t-shirt. It's a gray t-shirt with our logo like right here in the corner. We sold to a lot of like family members who lived very far away. Logistically speaking, the only way to really do that was through online sales. So there's no way we could have, I mean, we sold, it was over $1,000 worth of shirts, wasn't it? It was a lot of money. I mean,
yeah, shirts and hats. Yeah.
Oh yeah, hats of them. If you look at Casey's background, you can see a collection of Ignite Donuts hats, which are available at ignitedonuts.com. If you're interested. But yeah, I mean, the reach is extraordinary. And also it's just the ease of use. I mean, people can do it from there. As Casey was saying, we're on our phones all the time, you know, and we're kind of different people when we're there, but it's so simple to just buy something online like that. And it just improves the access of your product to more people. I mean, the only place we sell our food cart right now, merchandise wise, we sell it at our food cart and online. And obviously we reach a lot more people online.
Yeah, I agree too. And I think that we're learning about how to grow our online presence. And one thing that I'm proud of our business is that we have optimized SEO, which is search engine optimization. And we did so by doing it for free. And that is specifically called a local SEO. We didn't have to pay for advertisements, and all we did was post concepts and content on Google. People don't know that if you have a business and you get registered, you can post pictures on Google. And then when people search up donuts near me or donuts near us, whatever the Google search is, the more content you have on Google's platform, they're going to cater to you. And so although we are not the most established donut business in town, if you look us up, donuts near us, donuts near me in Mount Pleasant, we are the first or second choice on there. And we probably should be like the fourth choice.
Right.
And you have the Tim Hortons, the Cops and Donuts, and then Robert's Bakery. And we are by far the least experienced,
Right.
by far the least established.
Right.
Yet
I mean, that comes
ahead of their game.
Knowledge. We had that knowledge to do that. You know, that's a thing we did that gave us an edge over the competition, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know, like, yeah, a local SEO is huge. I mean, normal SEO can help. I think that's something I learned too, is that it does require a significant amount of marketing to have a successful online, like selling online on your personal website. I think something like eBay is something almost completely different, you know, and significantly easier perhaps to push inventory, because we run into the trouble, I think, of getting people to our website, right? Because if they don't know we exist, if they don't know we have a website, they're not going to buy anything, you know? So I think there's some Google ads we could have done, which I don't think we've ever done for our merchandise, but it's something we could do if you really feel like it's a priority. But yeah, I think that's something to look at too, that we could improve on, I think, if we look at it, is the exposure of the online website.
Yeah. And I think what our viewers will gain from this is if they understand the aspect of an online website and like the different essentials that go into a website, because A, it's got to be appealing.
Yes.
B, people have to know, it has to be an easy name to search up. Like it can't be some 5-sentence or 5-word thing that people are not going to know. Like Ignite Donuts is simple. It's 2 words. There's not a lot of, it's not very complicated to search.
Right. That's the URL, to be specific. The URL has to be simple. IgniteDonuts.com, 1 word. And you can buy that. We buy our domain through GoDaddy. You know,
Yep.
So if you have a business name, buy the URL. Don't make it something .weebly.com. That's bad.
Yeah. And the reason why it's bad is because it's not really professional.
Right.
And when you're in the startup world and you have investors, you have customers, they're going to judge you based on your URL. They're going to judge you on how much effort you're putting into the business. I mean, it cost us like $20 for the next 2 years to purchase a domain name. And I think the first year was like $5 or something. And so it's like, really, it's not that much money. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, like you can only go so far with using different websites, startup website templates, if that makes sense. And like you can do a good job. You can spend a lot of time and try to know this system to your best ability and integrate it with Square or whatever POS system you have. But what we are doing now is we're trying to make that second leap. And we have our design manager who's an expert pretty much within computer science. And so not only is he skilled at design, but he's also able to code, and he's also able to embed different aspects into our new website. So what viewers will see in our new website whenever it comes out, hopefully within the next couple of weeks or so, is that it is very appealing. And it's very appealing because we're able to do a lot of different unique things, such as like putting a GIF on our homepage and having specific icons to us on the top menu bar. And that is a very appealing contrast. That's, in a way, is like, it looks good, it looks professional. And then the value proposition that we're doing it from our online basis, it still stays the same. We're providing warm donuts and an easier access to do it. It's like Facebook and Twitter. Like, you have to create an account to use to have access. And they've done it in a very attractive way in doing so. And they've upgraded every single year, whether it's the emojis or the ways that you can post things. At the end of the day, Facebook is a website, and Twitter is a website. IgniteDonuts.com is a website. And although we're not that far,
I was gonna say, I'm not sure we're comparing ourselves to Facebook, but
I know, yeah,
not yet.
So I think that it's important, though, to create a platform that's very engaging. And I think some platforms that don't do a good job at it are some of the bigger corporations. Like, for example, Dunkin' Donuts is a good brand, and they have a very nice, attractive website. But it's very hard to find information that's specific to an individual consumer. Whereas like a small business, you can find all the information you need. You can find what they're doing in that community to support it. You can find all their marketing aspects. So like on our new website, people will be able to find every single episode of our podcast, every single baking show episode, press releases, things that, like, when businesses are located near a college campus, different professors require people to do research on different businesses all the time. They can go to our business, any student, 10, 25 years from now, and get all the information that they need for their assignments. They will gain value from our website, which is the goal, than just typing in our website and gaining really nothing. And a lot of small towns have businesses that have a website, so to speak, yet they get no information from it, and there's no ROI, no return on investment.
Right. I think that's interesting too. Like, some businesses, if they're really small, just have like a Facebook page. I would recommend, I mean, that's a good place to start, obviously. But if you're even trying to expand a little bit, I think it's extremely valuable to have a legitimate website. You know, maybe a Facebook page could convey what you need to convey, but I think from a legitimacy standpoint and gaining the trust of customers, having a real professional website matters a lot, because people still click on websites, and even having one on your Facebook page immediately elevates you above so many of these really small businesses. So I just throwing that out there too.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Right now is a really great time. I mean, it used to be extremely expensive to make a website, and the only ones you'd see were like WordPress, and they would look really bad, and you still see some of those as small businesses, but it's not like that anymore. And I alluded to that earlier in this episode. There are tons of tools for entrepreneurs to build websites now. Like I said, there's Weebly, there's Wix, there's Squarespace, there's GoDaddy, there's so many others I can't even name. And they're all pretty easy. They're all pretty much drag and drop. They're all relatively inexpensive. So technology itself has made it much easier to have a website. And then if we're talking about e-commerce, it's even easier. I mean, so let's talk about Square for a second. A lot of small businesses, and specifically food carts. Last week we talked about food carts. many food carts use Square as their point of sale system, the POS system, which is and essential for any business. Square is a really incredible tool. I mean, you can talk about Square a little bit, Casey. They have a lot of benefits, don't they? That's helped our business tremendously.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they help us get our product and allow us to help us get our product out there to make a transaction. It's like what we talked about last week was the different unique challenges we had with the food cart and how like we had to cover all bases. You have to cover the base of accepting a transaction.
You have
Everything
to accept
nowadays.
you have to accept credit card in this day and age.
Yeah,
If you don't accept
exactly.
credit card, you're going to lose a lot of sales. So that's what Square is really for. You could say, "Oh, we're just going to accept cash," but sorry, I just wanted to check that in there. That's the importance of Square is you can
Yeah.
accept card anywhere. And if it's an online thing, you can still accept card through somebody's number. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just going to allude to it. So thank you for jumping in on that, because without that aspect of accepting online payments, you won't be able, that is the online payment, is
Right.
credit cards basically right now. And so, I mean, you can have a PayPal account, you can have a Venmo account, but you still need it to have either it be
Nobody
set up with
buys
it.
from websites with a Venmo. That's
Yeah,
just not
yeah,
something you do. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So like, regardless, you need to have some form of payment, and Square does that. And
Mm.
so it's nice too that they've diversified their model to also be integrated on these platforms like Weebly and Wix. And so it helps not only the website businesses, but it helps small businesses with the convenience of it.
Right. Absolutely. So let's talk about the big elephant in the room, at least when we're recording this right now, which is in May. COVID-19. Oh no. But I think the coronavirus pandemic has created a lot of opportunity when it comes to selling online. Obviously, it's become more prevalent for obvious reasons. People are being ordered to stay home. The only way to get some goods is through online. So Casey, how do you think online sales are changing? Let's not talk about macro. Let's talk about micro level. Let's talk about small businesses. How do you think this coronavirus update is affecting small businesses and their relationship to selling online?
Well, they're diversifying their model
Mm-hmm.
very simply. So, and so because small businesses never had an online presence because everything was word of mouth. But now with the different landscape, you can't see anyone currently in Michigan, at least, or the lower half of the lower peninsula. You can't see anyone. And it makes it very hard for the communication aspect to get your product out there if you can't see anyone. So online community needs to be present in this day and age. And that was going to happen anytime sooner, but this COVID-19 just ramped that up. And so to answer your question, simply put, is like small businesses that didn't have an online presence will have one. And those that did have one will need to upgrade their game because there's more people, there's an influx of people and businesses trying to be on the market.
Right.
And so like, that's literally what we're doing. Is we've upgraded our website, and we're doing so right now to cater to the different needs. We are providing different options that other bakeries can't do right now. Like, although we're not established in the realm of being a physical business and operation, we are way far ahead of many of the local businesses here, regardless if they're a bakery or not, just because we have a website, and we have a pretty good one, to say it the least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking we were talking about this. You were talking about this before we started recording. Is that we're actually seeing an uptick in online sales of donuts themselves, of delivery sales, because people want products, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's not necessarily online. Oh, although I'm sure they paid through Square online, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure. So, if we didn't have that tool set up online, we wouldn't be able to accept the orders in this time. And so we didn't know we were preparing ourselves for the future, but I guess we were,
Yeah.
To be honest, when we first set up our online store in Square, we really didn't receive very many orders. And we didn't even have donuts on there. I think it was just merchandise. You know, it was only later.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, it's a good thing we did because it's paying off now. It really is, you know. And that actually reminds me of another thing. Square also does invoices, which is kind of backtracking about talking about Square. But if you are a business that does events and things like that, you can send somebody an invoice through Square, and then they can just pay it on Square. It's a lot easier than hunting them down for a check, you know, or Venmoing, if people even do that. You know, a lot of events don't do that. So that's another powerful tool Square can give you. Are there any other POS systems that small businesses can use? I'm not familiar with different ones.
Yeah, there's some out there. It really depends on the industry. Like at the golf course that I work at, they have a crap ton of different golf inventories and POS systems, but some other businesses may use a platform like Rebel, which is similar to Square, and there's others out there as well. But I think it's really important to have Square connected to an online platform because that's the only way, or like a POS system connected to an online platform, and to market it so, because that's really the only way to get your return on investment. And it creates a whole separate business in a way. If businesses and people within the business go hard in doing so and learn from the process and improve from what they're learning, they can actually make a brick and mortar business turn into solely an online business, or, you know, have them help each other out, you know.
Absolutely. I think that's a good, yeah, that is an interesting thing, because at the end of the day, we start as a donut business we now sell donuts on campus. Well, there's not a whole lot of that right now, you know, so the fact that we have an online presence, and even doing what we're doing right now, which is a podcast, is a little different because it's a media strategy, but it all ties together, I think, into one online presence that really elevates us past a simple bakery, or even if we were just selling at a farmer's market. And I think that's something that entrepreneurs should consider if they have a business or even a food cart, is invest in the online presence as a whole. And we talked about some of that too inadvertently, like the local SEO, normal search engine optimization, and even some ad-based things. It's all about the online presence, and I think that's an extremely important thing in this day and age, and especially with the coronavirus. If you want to survive as a new business, you have to have an online presence.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have anything
I think
to add? Sorry.
Yeah, I think that covers everything that was on my mind. How about you?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's true. You know, I just want to reiterate the point to our listeners that there are a lot of options out there for starting a business online. And to be quite frank, we've talked about having a website and things like that, but selling online can even be as simple as putting it on eBay and starting your little mini eBay empire of selling lots of things on eBay. That is a legitimate business as well. But if you have a unique idea and you want to build credibility, having a legitimate website immediately elevates you over many other people. And it does matter how it looks too. So it's probably a good idea to use a website builder unless you know a guy who can code. So
Yeah.
I think that's my closing thoughts. Thank you all for listening. This has been Ignite Donuts Podcast, Episode 8. Catch us next week. This is Chris signing off.
This is Casey. Thank you, Chris.